This May 4th Brown County Commission meeting to order. Commissioner Kipley, would you lead us in pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Good morning. First item is to approve the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second. Moved by Sutton, second by Piker to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, we have Kathy with the Brown County Auditor, package off sale liquor license.
Yes, this last legislative session, House Bill 152 passed, and that allows counties to issue off-sale package liquor licenses. Historically, counties used to be able to, then they stopped allowing that, but people were grandfathered in with their licenses, and now they're allowing it again. So we are allotted 7 licenses for package off-sale liquor, but the license has to be more than 3 miles away from any municipality. So it kind of limits the availability of who can have a license. Currently, Fernie, Houghton, and Mansfield are grandfathered in with their licenses, which leaves us 4 new licenses that we can sell.
Which were the 3? Fernie, Mansfield, and
Houghton?
Houghton.
Yep. So we'll have 4 new licenses available. The draft resolution proposed today is just a first come, first served basis. We'll approve them in the order of completed applications received. We do have interest from 4 qualified bars for the 4 licenses. So today what I'm asking for is to approve the resolution to allow them to be sold first come, first served, and approve the application fee, and that can range from $500 to $1,500, kind of the going rate for them. So
And we don't have a rate set for that now?
we don't have a rate set for that now, so that's what we're going to do today, so we can have this in place by the effective date.
And this is for the initial license, and then there will be a renewal fee annually?
Yes,
For that
and the
license.
current renewal fee is $300 for the other license holders for these package liquors. So I figured we'd keep the renewal fee as it is. We're just able to sell 4 additional licenses this year.
Do you happen to know when the grandfathered ones were purchased originally and what they paid for them, by any chance?
No, it was decades ago.
Okay.
Well, I don't think 1,000 for a new license would be out of control, out of line. And then the fact that you're going to have the same renewal rate as the present holders.
That's
to
what
keep
I was,
the- Keep the renewal rate the same for the present holders versus the new holders coming in. And that could be changed down the road too. That renewal rate can be changed at, whether
Yeah,
it be
we
1
can
year
address
from now or
that.
5 years from now, that renewal rate can always be changed.
Because we set that annually at our first meeting, don't we?
Not the
Those fees?
renewal rates, we set them through a resolution, but we
Oh,
can
okay.
always change those
Sure.
renewal rates. Yeah. So today we're just looking for what do we want to charge for a new license holder.
And what did you say, from 500 to how much?
Roughly 500 to 1,500 kind of seems to be like the range on these. I know I visited with the city finance office, and they don't have any available, but if they did, they'd be 500. Seems cheap comparatively to standard liquor license, but for whatever reason, it's kind of the going rate on them.
Sure.
So a motion for $1,000 for license?
Whatever, what he thinks, I mean, that's...
Second.
We've got a motion by Piker, a second by Kipley to have a $1,000 fee on the additional 4 license that the county was awarded.
And approve it. We'll be passing the resolution
Okay.
with the change from 500 to 1,000.
And then we don't have to do anything with the $300 annual?
We don't have to do anything with that at this time, no. That's just kind of for frame of reference, what we charge
Unless you
them.
want to change it.
So then, if someone new pays $1,000 for the license, do they have to pay the $300 the first year? So it won't cost them $1,300 for the...
No, the first year it'll be 1,000, and then these are calendar year licenses, so then they pay 300 again in December.
Renewal.
Okay.
So we have a motion by Piker and a second by Kipley to approve the $1,000. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Very good.
Thank you.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. We're about 5 minutes ahead.
No, she's stated at 48.
8:50? Oh, I'm sorry. I looked at the 8:55 for some reason. Sorry, Kelsey.
Yes, fine.
ADI grant program update.
So I just wanted to come today and give an update as we are closing out on year 2 of the Alternatives to Detention sub-grant. The application for year 3 will be due June 4th and voted on at the June 14th Council for Juvenile Services meeting. I just wanted to prepare a one-pager to point out some of the highlights that we've had in the last couple of years since I've been in this position. In the first table, this shows the successful diversions and the incentive reimbursements that was received from the state. The incentive reimbursement runs on a state fiscal year. So the first year of my grant was the state fiscal year 20, so 7/1 of 19 through 6/30 of 21, and we had 71 successful diversions in the first year that I was in this position, which has increased our incentive reimbursement by around $11,000. I tracked my success rate on a calendar year, so in calendar year 20 there was a 93% success rate in diversion. So far in year 2 of the grant, we have had over 100 referrals to diversion. 60 have been successful as of 4/28. Of the 40, there were some that were unsuccessful, but there's also some that are still in the program. So if the reimbursement remains at $250 per kid for every successful diversion, with those 60 successful diversions, we'll get around $15,000 back from the reimbursement for this grant year. In 2020, there were 120 juvenile petitions filed. At least 54 of the diverted offenses in 2020 would have otherwise gone through juvenile court. So the diversion efforts that we have implemented in Brown County have decreased the juvenile court caseload by 31%. In the table below that, we'll show that crime has not increased. So the rate of decrease on the far right side is between 2017 and 2020. We have seen decreases in all levels of offenses. In year 2, I worked with the juvenile judge Portra and the home detention staff to adjust our current home detention program. We implemented a response grid to youth misbehavior, as there was a condition on the contract that youth who violated could be overrode into detention, and we just implemented some more steps in that so that they weren't necessarily going into detention, but we were trying other alternatives to keep them out of detention to save money. We've also implemented a conditional release process. In grant year 1, our override rate was around 70% on the risk assessment instrument. The risk assessment instrument is the tool that is conducted by law enforcement to refer a youth to detention. We have decreased that override rate by about 20% by implementing the conditional release process, which is an alternative to detention at no cost to the county. We've also submitted for reimbursement through the Council for Juvenile Services for just under $4,500 for use of existing alternatives. So this would be like electronic monitoring or shelter care if a youth is held at New Beginning Center. Year 3 plans, I hope to formalize a truancy diversion structure utilizing both teen court and the diversion program through the state's attorney's office. We would like to see CHIN's offenses stay out of the court system as much as possible with the legislative passing Senate Bill 14. There's very limited resources for children in need of supervision on probation. We will also be implementing a restorative justice program. I wrote a grant last year through the Annie Casey Foundation and received a grant to go through a restorative justice training. So my hope is that we can hold like victim offender dialogues and victim impact panels in the community. We also want to explore an evening reporting center and reception center. So this would be the idea of like an after-school program for youth, or a reception center for law enforcement to, if they can't get a hold of the parents, to drop the kid off with the center to help locate another kinship placement or family, etc., safe place for them to go without unnecessarily putting them into detention, and allowing the officers to get back out onto the street as soon as possible. And then we will also be hosting a positive youth development training in September. So these are the updates for year 2. As I said, we will be going forward with application for year 3. So I'm asking for a letter of support on behalf of the commission today.
Well, I'm real proud of the job that Kelsey's been doing for us, and it's one of those things that 2 years ago when we first took on the grant, in my mind I was like, you know, worst case scenario, you take advantage of a state grant for 3 years and then who knows what happens afterwards, but the results we're getting on these kiddos, it's truly amazing, because you're taking kids that, you know, in the future could be hardened criminals, and you're trying to give them a second chance through this diversion program, and it's really making a difference in the community. The only difference this year versus the first 2 years is they want us to focus on sustainability. So this is where the hard question gets asked is it worth us trying to figure out where to find this money? It's a new FTE that we'd have to take on a year from now. So we've kind of started conversations with Ernest over in State's Attorney's Office, the Sheriff's Office. Is there some money that could be reallocated for this position a year from now when we have to make that hard choice? And I just, looking at these results, part of it's going to come from some of these programs that she's utilizing, and we're already paying for parts of it, but something to think hard about, and I appreciate all the work you're putting into it, so thank you.
Are there other counties that are, what other counties?
It started with just Minnehaha and Pennington, and now they've done Brookings, Watertown, Davison, us, and I think
Yankton.
Borderline, but Yankton is
Yankton
now
County
coming
will
on.
be submitting an application this year as well for the program.
The difference between what we're doing and a lot of these other locations is they're run it through their Boys and Girls Club. I think 3 of the other locations are Brookings, Watertown, Davison.
Brookings, Watertown, and Yankton would be through the Boys and Girls Club as well. Davison and Brown County are
They're
through the State's
receiving the
Attorney's
grant.
Office.
You don't anticipate this state grant being continued down the years? It sounds like they're going to drop it after one more year. You don't think the state will foresee the need that they would continue on with the grant, or?
When they first developed it, they told us it was a 3-year grant, and that we would have to start looking at whether it's useful for us to take on as our own, otherwise the position would be eliminated. But like I said, some of these incentive reimbursements that we're getting have increased significantly, so that's not going away. The Council for Juvenile Services still offers.
Okay.
If you divert a kid or do some of these things as opposed to just throwing them in juvenile jail, they'll give you support on that.
So where does the grant money coming out of the state, have any idea where that's specifically coming from out of the state? What?
UJS is Council of Juvenile Services, right?
It's DMC is actually who the Council for Juvenile Services is under. It's my understanding that it's a grant through the Office of Juvenile Justice, Delinquency and Prevention, and then that's awarded to the state of South Dakota for us being in compliance for holding the right youth in detention. And as long as we remain in compliance with that, they will continue to award the state of South Dakota that money, and so then they have identified certain areas that they will sub-grant
So
this
it's
money out.
actually federal money coming in to the state, for the state to be used for these programs. I just wonder what the potential of that, of the federal government continuing to flow that money into the state. I think that's what the question is. If the state's going to get the money through the federal government, then you'd think that they'd continue to help. But
Well, the program's expanding, not contracting, so I mean, it's, number one, it's beneficial. Number two, that's, you know, a good way to demonstrate it, but you still gotta go back and sell it back to the feds and make sure everybody's staying in compliance, but showing
Yeah.
good results.
do you have any idea at all in comparing the other programs, and maybe that's not a fair question, but just curious as to what our success rate is, obvious, and what the other programs have been? I mean,
The other counties?
yeah.
That is a hard question, just because we're all taking very different cases.
Sure.
I have said that I will try anything once.
Sure.
I'm willing to give it a shot as long as I think that they can be successful, and I think that we have the programming within the community to try and help them. And I know some of the other counties, like Watertown and Davison or Mitchell, they just don't have the resources that we do. So they're a lot more restricted on what they can take. So I guess as far as I'm concerned, it's kind of comparing apples to oranges.
Yeah. Well, I think it looks really good.
We don't need a motion for the commission to approve the commission. Can we just, does that have to be done by motion, or can we just?
We need
commission agree?
authorized signature on that letter of support.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we draft a letter of support for the program. Second.
Got a motion by Sutton, a second by Weiss to authorize chair to sign a recommendation of
A letter of
letter of support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So-
Thank you, Kelsey.
So I have a follow-up question, it's not on here, but you mentioned it, that, you know, the breadth of the cases that you're taking and so forth. I'm just curious what you've seen trending over your period of time here. What are we getting in trouble for most consistently that you wind up having to?
A lot of drug offenses, and more recently felony drug level.
Mhm.
So, unfortunately, it's not just marijuana.
Mm-hmm. Not surprising.
What is the age bracket of most of these kids?
So I will take anyone 10 to, they have to be 17 at the time that they committed the offense. I would say the vast majority are 14 to 16. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Kelsey.
Keep up the good work.
Thanks.
Next item, we have the South Side Dump Site Purchase Agreement. We have an agreement here to purchase a property belonging to Robert, Stephen, co-trustees, and Shirley Jacobs, irrevocable trust. The purchase is in the amount of $85,000. It grants an easement for some access. And then there's also a term as far as some personal property that would be removed, given an August 1st date to have that done. And I don't know that there's anything else that I looked through real quick and thought there was anything that stood out.
I made some last minute changes, that's why I was a little late getting here.
Oh, okay.
I went with warranty deed, because I'm assuming that's what most people want. And then as far as the property thing, I just cleaned that up a little bit.
Okay.
So that one's actually different than the one that I sent earlier.
Okay.
Is there any significant material changes to the proposal?
No.
What do you guys want to do on that rail car? I don't know that the...
That's stated in here that he has till August 1st to remove it. They're going to consider that to be personal property, the way I read it. And then,
Yeah, it was undecided, and if he wants to drag it out of there.
And if you
whoever
don't,
I
But
talked
it's our
to.
responsibility if he doesn't?
after August 1st, the way I read the...
and I took the liberty to call Paul Myers, and he said that there would be some value there.
Would he come get it?
And he would come and get it.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
that
one
would
of
leave
the
an
big-
option. There'd be some value there for scrap metal. And Bob suggested too that if all else, if nothing else, he'll hook onto it with a D8 cap and pull it out of there.
And it's stated in here, seller shall have until August 1st, 2020 to remove all personal property, including rail cars presently attached to the main building present on the site at the time of closing. After August 1st, any remaining items shall be considered abandoned. So
Okay.
that's stated inside the
Sounds good.
agreement.
I move we have our chair sign the purchase agreement. I'll make it.
We have a motion by Piker, to second by Weiss, to authorize chair to sign the real estate purchase agreement for the south side dump site. All in favor?
There's nothing in there, I didn't see anything on mandating trees, right?
I didn't see anything either.
There isn't anything that... All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have a site.
Well, that's providing Bob accepts the purchase agreement.
Yeah, good luck if he
Well,
doesn't.
In my eyes, we have a site.
I dare him. No.
May I say something now?
Yes, you You have the floor, Leanne.
All right, so all of you Brown County Commissioners get a great big smiley face from the south side dumpster lady.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, I also want to give a smiley to Don Shepard for keeping the ball rolling all the time I was gone. I want to thank you for all the time that you put into it and all the effort you put into the research of finding the right spot for us on the south side. Thank you very much, and it was very much appreciated. Just love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for all the phone calls to keep us on task. And here's something for you when you have a break. Thanks, Dale.
I see you didn't bring them out beforehand, did you?
He's gonna take them with him.
Just the papers.
I just have one question. So if he signs it, would things be moved over to that spot? Any ideas, or?
It's going to be a process.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wait
first
and see
we have
till we
to-
get the dotted line signed, and then we'll move on.
We
Well,
first
the
have to
initial
make-
thought was we're not going to do concrete and all that right away. We're just going to move them over as is, so it wouldn't
Okay.
take long at all.
So this summer, though?
Yeah.
Okay, as long as...
I think it all kind of now hinges on whether or not Bob will accept the agreement the way it's drafted.
Okay.
The purchase agreement. If there's some things in there that he absolutely doesn't agree with, then it'll be back here at the table
Sure.
again. But we're hoping that the way it's drafted, that he'll accept that.
Okay.
And then we can move on, that he'll sign it and get his payment for it. And then I would say after that, it would be just a matter of how Mike can work it into his schedule and the people that pick him up, the contractor that picks him up too. So it basically hinges on Bob's signature on it.
And if and when that gets signed, will that be like announced in a meeting or the paper so that we would all know for sure? Or do we just wait and see if the dumpsters get moved over and then we would know?
I would think if he would sign it, we would acknowledge that in our meeting.
To the public, so that the
Right.
public is aware of it?
Right.
Okay,
Right.
that would be the thing. Okay, sounds good. And again, I second Leanne, where I know you guys worked hard on this, and behind the scenes there was a lot going on that we would have no idea of, and that it was very time consuming on your part, and we really, really, really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Dirk Rogers, Highway Superintendent, right-of-ways and department update and personnel. Morning, Dirk.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good.
Sunshine.
Sun shining, kind of dry,
Blowing.
sort of not blowing. We got it
The
all
chairman
out of the
says
way.
it's gonna rain an inch on Saturday, so we're gonna hold him to that.
Okay. The chairman never lied to me, so. Oh, okay.
And I'll make sure I got my phone off Saturday. That's everybody was calling me.
Thanks, Leanne.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye, Tim.
Thank you.
Okay, let's do these right away first.
I'll have a wonderful...
These are a little more, involved than the normal ones, so we'll go into a little more detail. This is overhead power for East River Electric. And face value, I'm just asking about another right-of-way. They're gonna put a high line in. It looks like some of it is at 48-foot mark and some of our 50-foot right-of-ways and stuff like that. So, in general, it's just putting in new high line. I'm gonna show you the drawings because it's covering quite a stretch, and this is two projects that are hooked together. So, this is the first one. And the crossing part on there that's highlighted, there's like 5 crossings on here. 373rd Street, I believe, on the top there is where Brown County starts. Okay.
So curious, do you know, are they putting in steel structures or?
Thank you.
I think they're, to tell you over there, they're pretty high. I don't know, I haven't seen if they're steel or if they're, this is the whole thing. The first thing I'm handing you is the part in Brown County, and the second thing I'm handing you is the rest of it. Which, this is the whole thing starting from Leola.
This pole class is ductile iron class.
Okay, so it's metal.
The way I read it.
Thank you. So you can see that The actual permit is for the first copy, the color copy, basically from 373 to where they intersect the county roads, going over to Road 6, and then it goes south down to a new substation that's going to be built right north of Turnquist Bridge. Sorry.
Oh, really? Another,
So everybody follow that?
Yep.
Okay, so this permit is for the crossings where they cross the highway. You see right at between 375 and 376, it goes across our road diagonally.
Yeah.
So that's the first one that this permit includes, is it's referencing that crossing, okay? And then you go over to 379, there's another spot there where it would cross our right of way. And then coming down 6, it crosses 6 and then stays on the east side there, down to that new substation.
do you have any idea why they're crossing back and forth there? Does it have something to do with the river, or what's the reason why they're
As near as I could tell,
crossing?
it has to do with the river, because the river swings way up by the road on the south side there.
Yeah.
And the reason that they're jogging back and forth is there's quite at, God, what's the old guy's farm up there? It's, Buzz McNeil has it now.
Oh, yeah.
There's
Little
a
rice
whole Leo Rice from, there's a tree stand and all that stuff there. So they're avoiding that, and then they gotta avoid the river on the south side.
There
So
we
I'm
go.
assuming that's what the deal there is.
Mhm.
So, this right of way is for those crossings I was just talking about. I don't have a problem with it. It's East River, and they're either outside of our right of way or they're at the 48-foot mark with their poles through the thing, so.
I'm gonna say they're probably in private right away with this.
For part of it. I do know that he does call out some 48-foot distances on some of these to where the pole location is, so. So I have no problem with it. It's just a little bigger project, so I wanted to go into a little more detail.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Pfeiffer. Is there just one for all the accesses?
Yes, there's just one for everything I just showed you,
Okay.
in one. Now we're gonna do another one.
It's essentially just the 3 crossings.
We have a motion by Sutton, second by Pfeiffer to approve the East River Electric power lines. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, now we're gonna do the exact same thing again. Only I'm gonna hopefully just give you one copy. So now this one is the second one. And we're doing these in sequence because you can't do this one until you do the other one, okay? So this one continues on from the new substation I'm talking about on the north side of Turnquist there. And that red line going east goes over and it passes through that substation that's, 2 miles south of 10 up there, right along 281, and then continues on another 4 miles to the east, over a mile short of Road 14, and they're gonna put another substation over there, looks like. Yes, quite a project.
Thank you.
So, same story. The only thing with this one is the only place they're actually crossing our road, because this runs down a township section line, where they cross Road 10 there, 387. That's the only one of our roads that this one impacts. So, it'll continue from that one from up north side of Turnquist and just go work its way 8 miles east of there, running through the substation that's existing at 281 and over to the new one that they're gonna build over there a mile short of 391st. So I have no issue with that either. Same story, except that we're only talking about the crossing there because the right-of-way is all township.
I'll move it.
Second.
Moved by Pfeiffer, second by Kipley to approve East River Electric crossing Highway 10 between 109 and 110th Street.
Okay, those are my right-of-ways.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, so we'll move to department update. I don't know what you're doing putting these donuts right in front of me. They're good for you.
See if you're law enforcement material.
There you go. Did everybody end up with the email from Ryan about Sand Lake in some form or the other?
All right.
That I didn't see. Well, I know
Oh, yeah,
Rachel-
the update.
Rachel got
Yeah.
it.
He sent it to us on It was
Right.
mine sent to Dirk, and Dirk forwarded it to everybody.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't at my computer, and then when I came back, Ryan had responded, and...
Yeah, for Elm Lake, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
said Sand Lake.
Oh, well, that's...
Yeah.
You know, one of those lakes.
You didn't hear anything about Sand Lake.
Okay, we're good.
That's
Anyway,
fine.
got a
Yeah.
fire department update, you guys know? Yeah, I have a couple.
Did you get one, Rachel?
So anyway, I'm not gonna go into detail on that if you guys have it. I think
Mhm.
Scott referenced that he was gonna do press releases, whatever, so.
Yeah, it's pretty well known in the community already.
Okay. The rest of what we're doing, hauling gravel to Road 6 between 3 and 5 in preparation for our milling. We'll probably have that done today, so if the elm...
Dwayne, sorry, if you look.
Oh, I'm sorry. There. I put lotion on today, I can't do anything.
How sensitive.
So we're hauling gravel on Road 6 in preparation for the milling. We'll see if we end up paving it or blocking it back. It'll be put back to hard surface, but it's the 3 miles on the, the route you would take to get up to Elm Lake. And we're gonna do some graveling up there. May 10th is sort of our big day next Monday, if everybody's telling me the truth, because we're gonna start the milling and the paving in hopefully in different locations on Prairie Wood. So we're working through that a little bit. They seem to think that milling's gonna take longer than I do for the parts at Camino Royale and at Prairie Wood. I think that's a day or two, and we're taking all the material ourselves. That stuff's gonna start on the 10th. They should be patching by the end of the week. We're gonna start with Jensen's patching until I get a couple guys hired. And then we will be milling from Sabo on 14 up to the North Dakota line. That'll be coming up shortly. I had a note on there to ask about the dump site, but I got that answered. We're doing culverts ahead of the paving, so we got them done on Prairie Wood. Today we got 11, I believe, well, actually 13 west of Richmond. We were working on that one yesterday. And then we got, we're working on Road 11, replacing the culverts that would be up from the entrance of the haul pit over to 281. So we've got to put some new pipe in there. And that, I told you earlier, that was going to get milled in its entirety. It is not. We're going to go up there with our zipper because the blowouts up there are pretty specific. It's not like the whole road shot completely. So that one, I told you we were going to, we were probably...
What stretch was that?
That's the 11 between the halls and Hall Pit and 281.
Gotcha.
So that'll just be spots. And that's about what that's all I got really for what we're doing, unless you guys got any questions.
What, I noticed boring equipment and stuff up on 377th and 125th up northwest of Richmond Lake. And I wondered, what, are they doing some
Where the heck were we? I saw a bunch of stuff up there too.
cable burying or what?
Yeah, there's, I don't know where all of, Northern Valley's updating everything. So they could very well be out on township roads and stuff.
Yeah, it was K&B out of North
Oh,
Dakota.
that's definitely Northern Valley.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was they were drilling and working in that intersection up there, and just wondered what.
377 at 125th. Where's
Yeah. Well, it'd be about a mile and a half or
Okay.
2 miles.
I'm
Yeah.
sure that's what it is.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't, I don't know what they do with you guys, but they don't, I don't know what utility stuff on the township roads.
Sure.
But I would assume that's what that is.
In that same area, I had a taxpayer asking me if we could do some traffic counts just west of the bridge, right there on 13, heading west from Richmond Lake in the state park. He believes that half mile of gravel should be paved. And I know we've talked about it before, but before they wanted to go all the way up and pave the whole thing, and now
Yeah.
he's backed into a half a mile. He's wondering if they could pave it, and he said, well, can we at least do some traffic counts? So I don't know if our counters are busy right now, or if we dare throw them out there,
Well, I have a 3 o'clock meeting today
or, okay.
with with 2 of the commissioners, and we're meeting with another concerned individual about the county's performance at Richmond. And in that process, I've been collecting
All relates to this.
Traffic.
I think you gave me a photocopy.
Traffic counts. We've been doing traffic counts for the justification of what I'm gonna offer for the discussion today. Now, you said on the east of the park, I don't have,
West.
west of the
Yep.
park, I gotta double check. We have one at the West Bridge that's about 2 weeks old. So everybody that crosses the West Bridge
Okay.
in both directions is 288 cars.
288 cars in
Yeah.
what, daily?
Yes, but that's in both directions.
Gotcha.
So in theory, 140 cars went to work and 140 came back. The other thing we did is we've tried to group these traffic counts out there at Richmond all at the same time, because you don't want to do some of them in November and then come back and do the other ones in June, because it's not the same situation. So,
Summer traffic, holiday, or whatever.
exactly, so.
Or Memorial Day weekend.
Any of them. So what we tried to do is get them during the week, get them vaguely the same part of year, stay away from harvest, because there is one field that gets harvested up there that comes out the west side. So, because of that, we took them all at the same time. So somebody's gonna go, well, geez, there's way more cars than that, because no one ever agrees with the traffic counts, but.
Right.
Didn't
anything to skew the numbers.
Right,
And that
so.
one was taken, when did you say?
Probably 2-3 weeks ago.
So April.
Yep, I have one there. I have one at Parcel Trees where the other end of it hooks on to West Shore. We have one at 6 and West Shore. And let's see, I got Beagler Road, Youth Camp Road. So mostly the gravels is what we were doing. And I will have to double check it specifically at where you're saying, but the amount of variation there I doubt is too much, because the only thing you're not capturing by putting it on the bridge versus putting it at the park is you wouldn't be capturing the Gowers and the guy that writes about airplanes in the paper. All them guys that live out that
Local
way,
traffic.
Yeah.
would be the only thing you're not catching there. So that 288, I'm gonna guess, is probably pretty representative of what goes through the park, give or take 50. But we will go get one specifically if John hadn't gotten one there yet. But I've been doing traffic counts out there
Thank you.
for this very reason. So,
We haul cattle out there, and then we haul cattle north. We'd like to have 6 north of the North Bridge paved too right away.
okay, all the way up to 9.
Yep.
So let's see, not counting the stabilization, I'll need at least 390,000
I think we can handle that.
supplement for the asphalt.
Can you make it 4-lane though?
Yeah, maybe you want a median or you want the turning lane in the middle?
We want a turning
Bike
lane.
trail too. Bike trail?
Yeah.
Well, if that's all you got for work stuff.
There is a question that came up, Dirk, regarding Highway 14 out by Gross Equipment. Has the
Okay.
state talked to you about that or anything about the diverting the beef plant trucks off of Roosevelt over to 14? Are you aware of any of that conversation? Or
Beef plant or bean plant?
Beef.
So you're gonna divert the beef traffic, the beef plant traffic from where to where now?
Roosevelt over to 14, I understand, is what.
According to P&Z, the city said they don't want that traffic on Roosevelt because the turn from Roosevelt onto 6th doesn't meet specs, but it's going to after this big upgrade that they're doing. So they're diverting it south, and they want 14, what is it, 14E, that they call it, that comes down by J. Gross Equipment.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
bas-
where they're putting the truck.
So basically, they're gonna run all that traffic down past Joby Acres.
Another turn lane here.
Is that right?
It wouldn't go quite that
Gonna make
far.
Joe Gross take out this.
Yeah, it's gotta go 2 miles south, because then it lines straight up with the bypass road.
Yeah, I gotta
Across his
I gotta
property.
look at a map, I know about where we're at, but
I'm sure that's the intent. They run all that traffic down past Joby Acres then.
But I thought we had been trying to get it all to go west.
Wait, no, I don't understand the traffic motion. So you're gonna have eastbound traffic that's on the east side of town. So you're going, unless I'm not looking at this right, so you're eastbound.
Yep.
And you're gonna turn, how many trucks are eastbound on the east side of town trying to get back to the beef plant? I guess there's something here I'm not catching. That doesn't make any frickin' sense to me.
I wonder if they're diverting the ones coming down 14, or, I don't know either.
But I
If
mean,
they're
is
coming
it- is
around.
this-
Well, that makes sense,
No, this
Rachel.
14 only comes to here.
But then you
14's
think that
over
they'd
here.
maybe go
Oh,
to
yeah,
281.
No, they would come down 14, make a left
You know,
at
yeah.
at Titans,
RDO.
go a mile over, and then go south.
I mean, this is a great idea, and I knew they were putting these turning lanes in here, and it's fine until they say that it's for the beef plant. I don't understand that. Why would the beef plant traffic be clear out on the east side of town, I'm pointing the wrong way, we should face this the other direction. The east side of town, so they've gone through town, then they're gonna go south and they're gonna come back?
Well, I would think there'd be traffic coming off of 14, off of Brown County 14 would turn at Titan,
Coming
up the
south.
light, and Butler, they're coming from the south, then go a mile back to the east, then make a right turn at J. Gross Equipment and go down past,
Joby Acres.
yeah, Joby Acres.
You're gonna make them go a mile out of their way to go.
And anything
No.
coming from the west down to 81, that keeps everything out of town is what it does. Keeps everything out of Aberdeen. And off of Melgard Road.
Right, and that's, I really don't care what the city does and all that. My thing is, I don't understand who this is for. If you're a beef plant truck coming down 14, unless you're between Prairie Wood Road and US 12, which the only thing in there I can think of with cattle is Mike Cutler, who the hell's coming down that road to go east, to go south, to go back west of the beef plant?
Don't
So
you
we
think a
don't
lot of
need
that, don't you think a lot of that
We
could
need
be
the
truck-
turning lanes there, they're great, but to say that it's for the beef plant, I don't
Don't you
understand
think a lot of
that.
those trucks are empty coming back out of the beef plant and leaving going east?
That could be, but they're down here, and then they come up around Joby Acres and they...
Yeah, but if they're leaving empty, they gotta get there somehow.
That's what I'm thinking, is it's trucks that are coming, and I don't know, is the city's intent they don't want them on Roosevelt because of the construction that's gonna be on 6th Avenue? I don't know what the intent is there, but that's what I would be thinking, is that the trucks would be leaving the beef plant empty, coming out Melgard, hitting Roosevelt, and hitting 12 east. Now the city is saying, you gotta go out to 14 to get out east. Because I'm assuming a lot of these trucks will go east out of the beef plant, empty. I don't think it's a loaded factor, I think it's an empty factor, just by what my little brain thinks about
How'd they get there?
how they...
Well, I'm baffled. I don't understand this. I gotta say, I have the DOT. Who...
They're not gonna wanna go down 135th if they don't.
Scott Mader's the one that brought it up.
Joe Gross is the one that's complaining because they're making him eliminate that approach.
Right,
Yeah,
so the
these
conversation I had
alternatives.
with the DOT about eliminating Joe Gross's approach there was they asked, because he's got one over here,
Yeah, south there. right
or
there.
excuse me, approach number 2, I'm sorry.
But then people are going across his, if they're backed up here, if B&B is backed up here trying to get on to 12, then they're cutting through Gross's, coming up this way, so they're crossing his property to come over to this approach to go west.
Is there any concern at all about what that's gonna do to drainage down there onto Mark Seltzer and Mark Dorn?
Yeah.
I see the frustration with the...
No,
with the hazard.
it's all right, it's all right.
Yeah.
I've been pacing in my office for 45 minutes trying to come up with everything that was gonna come up in the meeting today, and I didn't have this one
Well, we don't
ready to go.
expect, not necessarily expect
I know, but I'm
to
giving-
solve it here today.
I understand that, because it's not gonna get solved, the drainage isn't.
It's gonna get worse.
I don't know that. Everyone's assuming it's gonna get worse. Everyone's just declared that because there's a road project out there, that it's gonna get worse.
Well, where's it gonna go?
What's changing, Dennis?
More concrete, more asphalt, less grass, less ditches.
How do you know the less ditches? The median's going away and they're moving the road into the middle, so there's actually gonna be more space in there. And I'm not picking a fight with you. I gotta go back to why I'm frustrated. I've been meeting about this for a year and a half. I had a special meeting with the Secretary of Transportation and some other folks because as far south as you would have to go to do the survey to address the drainage there, you have to go about 2 or 3 miles south of US 12, as you all know around here, before you can get something to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So that ended up being about a $50,000 deal for the state that doesn't fit into anything they ever do, you know, they never go that far outside of the project, so, and the thing with Seltzer's and Dorn's, I can go back to 2002 is the first time I messed with that. And we were trying to figure out something over at Grebner, And what happens is it goes down there, and depending if you got corn or beans planted in the field, the water goes two different directions. That's how flat it is down there.
Yep.
And the, you know.
Yeah, but whenever you change anything, when Jay Gross filled a lot of material there, and B&B Construction did a lot of filling in behind their facility back there, and now with the state
Yes.
changing that, I guess if you push a few people out.
Well, and I'm not discounting what you're saying, but everybody, the minute a project happens, everybody thinks everything's gonna be worse right away. And I don't discount, I mean, that whole thing, I can't believe that all those sloughs out there were legally filled over the years. And the best example of that's over at where Pete worked, Farms Oil.
Yeah.
Over the years, they filled in their slough, and they filled in their slough, and they filled in their slough, and then they get 2 inches of rain, and it floods the whole parking lot, and they're over at the county going, what the hell? So that's what happens when they fill that in, and we're getting way off base here. So
a lot of them, all they want is a way out.
Right.
I mean, if you're gonna put the potential for more water in, they wanna wait, and that's the same thing out at Harms. They
Yep.
just want, there's no, they're not denying that there's more water there, but they want a way out.
Right.
And there is a way out, and that, I'm not sure that down there with Dorns, if there's a way out, you know.
There is, but you gotta put it in a location, and it has to sit there for a period of time and be detained before it'll clear. That's
Well, the
problem
thing
down
is, and I told Dorns too, there is a solution there. They need to build a nice big berm
Mhm.
around the north side of their house, a good one. And then they'll probably get sued because they're not letting the water flood their house out, they're pushing it someplace else.
Right. Okay, anyway, back to this before I got confused. The last conversation I had with the DOT regarding this was that they were putting that approach in there on on our road, on the east side of Joe's Gross's property. And the question they were asking me is if I ever intended that that road would get posted, because that first, back to B&B's driveway, we leave it open in the spring. And I said, well, as of right now, no. So that was the nature of the conversation I had with them, was them asking if we're gonna have trouble putting an approach over there versus this one they were eliminating. I think the turning lanes are a great idea there. I just don't understand the traffic motion that they're emphasizing. But I can talk to the DOT, I gotta talk to them anyway about some other stuff.
And one of the zoning issues is that parcel where the alternate location going on to 14 is proposed, that's a standalone parcel, it's not attached to his other ones.
Correct.
He'd have to plat them all together to make that work.
I see,
Or he could just sell it off and then there's no access.
I see. I don't have a
Always
problem with that.
something,
Well,
yeah.
no, but I would like the turning lanes. There, anytime we can get turning lanes on any of our roads, it's a good deal.
I can't see them wanting to take 135th if they don't have to, unless there's some huge improvements on that.
Right. Well, and on a side note, since we're completely off base, I get frustrated every time with the beef plant, because you guys, I wasn't here, I was on the other side of the fence at the beef plant when you did it, but you spent $1 million on a concrete road, or somebody did, to get out to 281. I mean, and we've done minimal investment going east, because we don't want to put a bunch of money into that and encourage people to go use it when we've just spent $1 million to go the other way.
Mm-hmm.
So just so you know, that's sort of the approach I take on a lot of this beef plant traffic. It should all be going out to the west, to 281, and then they figure out what the heck they're doing. And I'm sure, I get it with the city, you don't want those slop trucks going down 6th Avenue, but we're not the ones that said they couldn't use the other roads. So, that's just how I feel about going east out of the beef plant, I guess. All right, anything else?
Well, we got the west alignment of 281 that took decades,
Yeah.
and now the east-west.
Yep. Decades.
To try and avoid, and that's always the fight. I remember, fights like this in Webster and Arlington, and, every place else. I don't want all those trucks in town, but I don't want them missing town, because we need to capture
We need them there.
what we can from them. And
The old Manly Feinstein principle.
Mhm.
Keep running them right down 2nd Street as long as we can. That's why it took forever to get the west bypass.
just be careful crossing it.
Yep.
So,
All right, I'd like to go into exec for personnel if we're done with this other stuff.
Move it.
Second. Moved by Kempley, second by Sutton, to go into personnel, and I'll also add contracts onto that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
and
We are out of exec, no action as a result.
He's still here, that's fine.
that took care of our agenda items. Is there anything else coming before the commission before we go into the Jeanette's? Okay, Jeanette, you're up.
Okay. Approve last week's minutes. Move it.
Second.
Moved by Kippley, second by Piker to approve the general meeting minutes from April 27th. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Claims.
Move. Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Weiss to approve claims. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
HR report.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Pikert, second by Weiss to approve the HR report. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Fair contract.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Pikert to approve the fair contracts. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
AC quotes for the youth camp.
So one of them said clubhouse on it. Are we putting air in
No. Lodge is the clubhouse.
Okay.
It's the same thing. They just
Called it the wrong
called
thing?
it the clubhouse instead of the lodge.
Okay. So there's 2 in there or 3? Can you grab it?
There's 3 bids in there. One from-
So they bid 2 pieces, the dorms and then the lodge?
They bid them separate.
To invest that kind of money in the dorms, Kurt, do we rent them enough during the summer to justify that kind of
I think
expenditure?
I think the thing is that we would rent it more.
If they were here.
Because the number one complaint I have out there, especially for the lodge, is 90 degrees with 100 people in there. They just don't want to do it. You know, 15 years ago, people would throw up a fan and say fine, but now they
Expectations are different.
they won't do it.
Yep.
So I've lost so many rentals just because there's no air conditioning out there. So what they're doing now, my bigger groups, what they're doing now is they're actually taking the windows out of the lodge and bringing their own little air conditioners and putting them in the dorms in the lodge, which is not good for our windows,
Mhm.
which keep coming in and out. So,
Yeah.
It-
As long
it
as they
would
come
be-
with their own insurance, we're fine.
yeah.
Because did they pay the utilities on while they're out there?
They do not.
Okay, so I wonder, should we up the fee a little bit?
We can for next year. I think
Okay, so
this
the
year
lease is
everything's
already
set.
done now.
But I think if we put air conditioning in, I think we should put the rent up too.
Mhm.
Right now, we're charging $150 a day for that lodge, and you could not rent a building in Aberdeen that size that will hold 100 people for $150.
Right.
And the chairs and tables are already out there.
Yep, everything's out there.
Everything you need?
Yeah, full kitchen.
Well, it should be promoted then too, you know,
Yeah.
more, made public more.
Yeah. And I mean, we're during the summer, we're pretty much full every week and every weekend. So between the weddings, the family reunions, it's just kind of sad because we don't have as many kids groups out anymore because there's so many of them. The kids are going to the sports, more
Camps.
hockey camps and they're
Soccer.
just, yeah, the church camps are not as big as they used to be.
Yeah.
4-H, Farmers Union,
Yeah.
all of those.
8
Yeah,
years
we used
ago,
to
that's why
have
we
a-
lost Farmers Union, is the Groton Farmers Union folks asked if we were putting air in.
Yeah, and
Otherwise,
they-
they were going to Lake Byron, because
Yep.
they have that new facility.
And they
So we
still
didn't,
go
So they
there.
left.
Beautiful.
So I don't know if we'd have the chance to get them back, because, I mean, it's a little
There's-
bit older facility than some of the others too, but
Mhm.
There's
I
other
can remember
opportunities
going to
out there.
camp there when I was a kid, that was great.
So what was the low bid on this? I guess
Well, the lowest bid, well, it was different because there was $342 difference between the low bid and the next bid up. But if we do the dorms, they're like $1,400 cheaper per dorm for Heartland than they were for, what was it, Jake's Custom Sheet Metal.
Oh, yeah.
Jake's, yeah.
and is that in your
Jeff Ryder.
budget to be able to pay for it this year?
Yeah, well, we have a $21,000 improvement account.
Oh, since we didn't do the
No,
asphalt? or the-
No, this has
That was
been
last
on,
year.
no, we have an account that's been going for the last 20 years, that money has been set aside to do improvements at the youth camp. I didn't even know about it till this year, what Kathy told me.
Yeah.
She says, "What are you gonna do with this money?" I said,
$21,000.
"What money?" She said, "Well, we got $21,000 sitting in account for improvement."
When did it originally go in? Is it earmarked just for youth camp?
Yep, it is.
Sounds good then.
I'll make a motion to approve the Heartland cooling and heating bid.
Second.
We got a motion by Sutton, a second by Pfeiffer to approve the Heartland heating and cooling to put the air conditioning in the lodge and the dorms.
Is that gonna be done after summer then, when everybody's out, or you?
No, we'll do it right away. I don't have any groups coming in until June. So we've got a month.
I just feel like we're gift wrapping it to people. We're like paying them to come stay there with what we're gonna pay in the
Well, you
cooling
gotta
and
do it
utilities.
sometime. I mean, we can wait, if you wanna wait
Well,
until...
they'll be excited about coming back next year, even though the rate's higher.
Yeah, I can get it done.
We'll turn it on if they double their pay. If they don't.
Yeah, put a little coin box on your 25 cents for 15 minutes.
We're going way off here. We had a motion and a second. All in favor except for the Heartland bid.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
You're no fun.
Be like the lights
I
at the
sound like the
open
gift wrap
arena, they used to have
taxpayer
a box
of other
on there and you turn it on, you get
Yeah.
15 minutes of light.
Yeah, the massage chair.
So what's the county's asphalt machine doing setting out the,
It was stored in the grandstand during the winter. And
I
they
make a
just,
motion to approve the claim assignment.
Second.
Let's finish these two.
Second.
We have a motion by Kippley, a second by Weiss. Approve the claim assignments, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Just out there. Just out there's a
Second.
oh, sorry.
yeah.
We have a motion by Sutton, a second by Kippley to approve the township bonds, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Anything else, Jeanette?
No.
Anything else come before the commission? I entertain a
Move to
motion to
adjourn.
adjourn.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Pfeiffer to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?